Let me tell you about two friends. Same college, same city, and by 30, the same job title, pulling the same salary. Maya and Danny. If you'd met them at brunch back then, nothing about either one would have told you who was going to retire comfortable. At 30, Maya started moving $500 a month into a retirement account. Nothing clever, no crypto, no hot stock tips, no courses from a guy posing on a rented jet, just $500 a month into an index fund she checked twice a year. Danny meant to do the exact same thing. Then rent jumped, a wedding season hit, the car died, and next year quietly turned into 10 of them. She finally started at 40. Same $500. Same exact fund. By 65, Maya is sitting on roughly $900,000. Donnie has about $400,000. Same salary, same fund, same monthly amount. So, how did the exact same paycheck end up $500,000 apart? 1 decade. And the next 20 minutes are about making sure you land on the right side of it. How does 10 years do that much damage? Because compound interest is backloaded, no matter how polite and gradual it sounded in school. Your money earns returns, then those returns start earning their own returns. And the longer that snowball rolls, the more of the growth comes from the growth itself instead of from you. The napkin version goes like this. At around 7% average annual returns, which is on the conservative side of what the broad U.S. stock market has done over long stretches, invested money doubles roughly every 10 years. So, $1 Maya invests at 30 gets to double at 40, double again at 50, again at 60, and it's mid-double when she retires. Call it $10. That same dollar invested at 40 only gets about 2.5 doublings. Call it 5. Every single dollar Maya invested in her 30s shows up at retirement worth about double what Danny's dollars became. Maya didn't pick better funds. Her dollars just clocked in 10 years earlier and collected one extra doubling for it. I mean, think about that for a second. Over their whole careers, Maya contributed $210,000 of her own money. Danny contributed $150,000, 60 grand of difference out of their actual pockets. $500,000 of difference at the finish line. The missing decade didn't cost Danny $60,000. It cost her every doubling those early dollars never got the chance to do. And this is why your 30s specifically are the highest leverage decade you will ever get. Your 20s usually don't have the income. Mine certainly didn't, and I treated my 401k enrollment email like spam for years on top of it, so there is zero judgment coming from this side of the screen. But by your 30s, most of us finally have real money coming in, and the clock still has enough runway for the doubling math to do the heavy lifting. Wait until your 40s and you can absolutely still build wealth. You just have to replace time with much bigger contributions. And bigger contributions are exactly what gets harder once a mortgage and kids enter the chat. That's the whole rich or stressed split right there. Same salary, same effort at work, same city. One version of you lets the decade compound. The other version spends her 50s doing catch-up math and her 60s negotiating with a retirement calculator. And catch-up math is genuinely brutal. So, let me show you the price tag on waiting. For Danny to land exactly where Maya lands, starting at 40 instead of 30, she would have needed to invest around $1,100 a month instead of $500. More than double the money every single month for 25 straight years to buy back the decade she skipped. That's what "I'll start later" actually costs. Later doesn't just mean less time. Later means the same retirement suddenly requires a second retirement's worth of contributions. Now, if you're thinking, fine, I'll just start investing and the decade handles the rest, I wish it were that clean. Because your 30s come with a built-in saboteur and it doesn't look like a villain at all. For a while, everything actually feels fine. The raises start landing, the apartment gets nicer, life finally looks like the adulthood you were promised. That feeling is exactly what we need to talk about next. Every video on this channel has a villain, and this week's is sneakier than the finance bros and the MLM Huns combined because it never sends you a pitch. Lifestyle creep is what happens when every raise you earn gets quietly absorbed into a slightly nicer version of your exact same life. You know the sequence. You go from $60,000 to $70,000, and somehow, 6 months later, there's still nothing left at the end of the month. The apartment got 1 bedroom bigger, the groceries drifted from store brand to whatever has the prettiest packaging. The gym got a eucalyptus towel service. No single decision felt like a splurge. My personal flavor in my early 30s was upgrading my entire wardrobe every time I got good news at work, which I called dressing for the job I wanted, and my credit card called a lifestyle. What makes creep so dangerous in your 30s is that 2 forces hit at the same time. This is the decade when your raises are the biggest they will ever be relative to your income. And it's also the decade when everyone around you starts performing adulthood at full volume. Weddings, houses, renovated kitchens, strollers that cost more than your first car. The pressure to look like you're keeping up peaks at the exact moment your income finally gives you the means to fake it. And upgrades are one-way doors. You adapt to the nicer apartment in about 3 weeks. The lease lasts years. Psychologists call that hedonic adaptation. I call it the reason nobody feels rich at any salary. The joy fades fast, the payment stays. There's also an entire marketing machine aimed directly at women in this exact decade. And it has one script. You work hard, you deserve this. And look, you do work hard. But notice that you deserve this is only ever attached to things that drain your account, never to things that fill it. Nobody has ever run an ad whispering, "You deserve a fully funded retirement account, queen." So when that little treat logic kicks in and it will at least know whose voice it actually is, it's not yours. This is what actually happened to Danny, by the way. She wasn't reckless. No shopping addiction, no dramatic blow-up. She just said yes to a series of completely reasonable upgrades, and each decision seemed small at the time. It wasn't. 10 years of small yeses is how $500 a month never made it into the account. So how do you beat a villain you can't see? Not with willpower, because creep never picks a fight with your discipline. It rewrites your defaults while you're busy living. So, you change the defaults. Every time a raise lands, give half of it a job before it ever touches your checking account. Half the raise goes to investing, automatically, on payday, and you still get to live better on the other half. Nicer life and compounding at the same time. Slower creep, same joy. Radically different 60s. But the math wasn't done with Maya and Danny yet. Not even close. Because where those invested dollars actually go matters too. If your 30s are the highest leverage decade, the 3 moves coming up are the highest leverage moves inside it, and the first one is sitting in your HR portal right now, probably unread. Move 1. Take the free money. If your employer offers a 401k match and you're not contributing enough to collect all of it, you are, respectfully, donating part of your salary back to your company every single payday. A match works simply. You put in a percentage of your paycheck, and your employer puts in money alongside you. Commonly, that's dollar for dollar up to 3 or 4% of your salary, sometimes 50 cents on the dollar up to 6. That is a 50 to 100% return on your money, instantly, before the market does anything at all. That's not a typo, by the way. There is no other legal place where your money earns 100% on day one. Not real estate, not stocks, and definitely not whatever your cousin's boyfriend is trading this month. Put real numbers on it. On a $70,000 salary with a 4% match, your employer is offering you $2,800 a year. Skip it through your 30s, and you didn't just miss 28 grand in contributions. You missed 28 grand plus every doubling those dollars had coming. Left, invested. That one skipped decade of match grows into a 6-figure hole by retirement from one unchecked box. I know the objections. Because I personally made all of them. I can't afford to contribute right now, except contributions come out before taxes, so your paycheck shrinks by less than the amount you put in, and nearly everyone stops noticing within 2 pay cycles. Or I'll set it up when things calm down. Things do not calm down. That exact sentence is how Danny lost a decade, one perfectly reasonable month at a time. 2 pieces of fine print worth knowing. Some matches vest over a few years, meaning the employer's money becomes fully yours only after you've stayed a while. So check that before job hopping. And if you're freelance or your job offers no match at all, this move becomes opening a Roth IRA and automating a monthly transfer into it. Same reflex, different account. So that's the floor. Money in, match captured, and if leaving free money on the table stung a little just now, good. Keep watching, because the next move is about where that money actually lives and the characters circling it with courses to sell you. If this is the money talk nobody ever gave you, hit subscribe. Every week, I break down one piece of the financial life we were all just supposed to magically know how to run. There's a lot more where this came from. Move 2. Buy the whole Haystack. By the time Maya turned 45, her account had crossed $150,000. And here's the detail that surprises people. She could not have named a single stock she owned because she never picked one. She owned an index fund, which is a fund that simply buys a tiny slice of the entire market. An S&P 500 index fund, for example, holds a piece of the 500 biggest companies in America. Buy it once and you own a sliver of all of them at the same time. Which brings us to this week's supporting villains. First, the finance bro influencer economy. The guys posting chart screenshots at 2 in the morning who want to sell you a day trading course. If their trading actually worked, they would not need your $97. And second, the more respectable looking one, the actively managed fund with a professional at the wheel and a fee to match. The industry would rather skip this stat, so I won't. Over long stretches, the large majority of professional fund managers fail to beat the plain, boring index they are paid to outperform. Not amateurs. Professionals with research teams and Bloomberg terminals. The market as a whole is brutally hard to beat. And you can own the market as a whole for almost nothing. And the fee gap is where fortunes quietly leak. A 1% annual fee sounds like a rounding error. Compounded over 35 years, it can eat around a quarter of your final balance. On a $900,000 outcome like Maya's, that's roughly the price of a house, transferred one invisible percent at a time to someone who, statistically, underperformed the fund you could have bought for pocket change. Now, the honest part. That 7% average we've been using all video is an average, not a promise. Some years the market jumps 20%, some years it falls 15%, and the average only shows up for people who stay in their seats through both. Index funds are boring, and they drop when the market drops, and staying put through that is the actual skill. I panic sold once during a crash, fully convinced I was rescuing what was left. The market recovered within a couple of years. My balance took a lot longer because I locked in the loss and bought back in higher. That lesson cost me 5 figures, so please accept it here for free. Automate the monthly investment, pick a broad index fund, and then stop checking it like it owes you a text back. The setup takes one evening. Any of the big low-cost brokerages will do the job. And if choosing a fund feels paralyzing, a target date fund with your planned retirement year on the label is a completely respectable one-decision answer. It rebalances itself as you age, and you never have to think about it again. Maya checked hers twice a year and won. And now, for the strangest twist of the whole decade. The same years that hand you your biggest raises also roll out the single most efficient wealth destroyer available to regular people. It's sitting under fluorescent lights in a showroom right now, and it smells amazing. Move 3. Do not finance your net worth away at a dealership. The average new car payment in America now runs north of $700 a month. $700. That's not the car. That's just the monthly. And a new car starts shedding value the moment it leaves the lot, losing something like half its value within the first 5 years. So, you're taking on one of the biggest payments of your life to hold an asset that is actively evaporating underneath you. Watch what happens in the finance office because it's a masterclass in misdirection. They don't sell you a car, they sell you a monthly payment. The payment shrank. The debt didn't. You just agreed to 7 years of interest on something that will be worth a third of the sticker before the loan is even finished. Now, run the Maya math on it. The gap between the average new car payment and a solid used car payment is a bit over $200 a month. Invest just that gap starting in your 30s and keep it going. And by retirement, it compounds to somewhere near $400,000. That is the quiet price tag on that new car smell. Roughly a paid-off house exhaled through an air freshener. And I say this with love and a receipt of my own because at 31, I leased a car I could not afford and described it out loud in public as an investment. It was not an investment. Canceling that lease 2 years later did more for my finances than any budgeting app ever has. To be clear, this is not an anti-car sermon. You probably need one, and it should be safe and reliable because a car that strands you on the highway at night is not a financial strategy either. The move is buying a lightly used, boring, dependable car, financing it over as short a term as you can manage, and then, and this is the real secret, driving it for years after the loan ends while the old payment amount flows into your index fund instead. A paid-off car with an invested car payment is one of the most underrated wealth builders in existence, and nobody posts about it because it photographs terribly. Now, Danny could have heard all of this at 40 and decided it was too late for any of it to matter. She didn't, and that turns out to be the most important part of this whole story. So, back to that brunch table. 2 friends, same degree, same city, same salary, and at 30 you could not have told them apart. At 65, you still can't, not by looking. The difference lives in quieter places. One of them checks the price of everything and plans to work a few more years, which keeps becoming a few more. The other one booked the trip. Maya's version wasn't built on brilliance, and it wasn't built on luck. It was 500 automated dollars. An employer match she actually claimed, a boring index fund she refused to fiddle with, raises she only let halfway into her lifestyle, and a used car she drove long after the payments ended, while the difference compounded in the background. And Danny? Her $400,000 still beat every single person who decided it was too late and never started at all. That's the part I need you to hear if your 30s are half over or fully behind you. The math rewards starting early, but it punishes never starting far more. The best decade to begin was the one behind you. The best one left is the one you're standing in. If you know a Donnie, and we all know a Danny, some of us have been her. Send her this video. And if you want the rest of the money talk nobody gave us, the stuff that decides your 40s before you even get there, subscribe. I'll be here, wine in hand, receipts ready,